Oh, hi. Hi, and welcome to That's So Nova. If this is your first time here, thank you for coming. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. Today we are going to be doing Stitch Supplies Co.'s pillowcase pattern. It is the burrito method. I know you guys probably seen this all over YouTube, vlogs, blogs. It's been around forever. I bought a pattern, not a pattern, I bought a kit, and I bought the pillowcase kit Halloween Witch from Stitch Supply Co. And I put the label on here before I washed the fabric. And I asked them permission if I can do their, show their product and use their method, like what their written instructions. And they said, go for it. Ann told me to go for it. So, all right, we're going to do, if it's a standard size pillowcase and it uses the very clever burrito. So the fabrics that you need is cotton, of course. You need to have, for the cuff, this is the cuff piece. You need it to be 1/4 of a yard. And this is roughly 9.5 inches tall. You need this. You need the main fabric to be 3/4 of an inch in length, and it's usually around like 27 by 40 when I usually do it for the case of the pillow. And then you have the little trim. The trim is 2.5 inches by the width of the fabric. See, the measurements are very, very easy. You go from grain to grain, and some grains are 40 inches, some grains are 43. The discrepancy of the size is not a big thing. They normally fit a size of a pillow no matter what. Some will be a little bit baggy and some will fit quite snug. It's all about personal preferences, okay? And I never had a pillowcase I didn't like. If it fit a little looser, I would just go buy a pillow that had a little bit more filling in it. You catch my drift. If it fit a little snug, I would still put a pillow in there and it just looked like an extra plump, like fluffy pillow. Who doesn't like the look of that? So let's get this party started. You're gonna see how fast this comes together, and I think you're gonna like it. So what you need to do is you're going to pin all 4 layers together. So this is going to be a pretty large project. So you're going to take your cuff and you're going to place it right sides up. Okay? And then you're going to put your main cuff and your main fabric right sides up. You're like, what are we doing? Just trust the process. You're just going to lay it right on top of each other. So you're only seeing a small portion, but it's going to be like this across the whole board. Now, for your trim, you need to fold it in half, wrong sides touching, and give it a good press. Then we're going to pin all 3 layers together. And this part should be easy for us because we do this all day, every day. So I'm just going to pin every inch or so, all 3 layers. Man, I need better pins. It sounds like it's ripping out hair. You also can use clips. You don't have to use pins. Generally, when I work with cotton, I try to just use pins so it's easier with the shifting. But your pins are like ancient like mine. They may sound funny. And because we're working with the cross grain, you shouldn't have much stretching. You're not working with the bias, so you should be good. please, please, please wash your fabrics before any of this, because if you start using heat and irons, and you can get some shrinkage in some fabrics and not in others. The sewing of this project is relatively fast. It's the pinning that takes a little bit of time, and even the clipping, because you're probably like, what am I doing? This doesn't feel right. Because you're so busy making bags with me, but trust the process. I love giving these as gifts to people, especially children. Like if they have like a themed birthday party, I'll go out and find their fabrics. And I also like doing it during like football season, like finding someone's favorite football team, making it. I love having seasonal pillows around the house. It's just, I don't know, I love pillowcases, and I just think they add some kind of whimsical feeling through the house. And oftentimes if I get like bedding and I don't like the pillows that come with it, I'll just find fabric that I like and make my own pillowcasing. And they always look way more better than what could be bought at a store. And then you kind of puff out your chest and they'll be like, yeah, that's mine. So all pieces should fit the same. So all right. And I just threw some pins across the floor. That's about right. It's not Schnova unless something flies. All right. So once I put these pins in, we're going to then roll this main fabric. This is why it's called the burrito method. We're going to roll this main fabric out of the way so it can take the cuff part, and make it touch. And then you're just going to gently remove one pin and just place it where it's holding now for all the layers. 2 layers of cuff, your trim, and the pillowcase. Once you see this trick, you're going to be like, what? I'm making all the pillowcases in the world. And you know what? I fully support this idea. Some people fold, some people do just kind of stuff it in there. It's pretty cool. And this is the same method that you do if you make garments and you do yokes on the back of like camper shirts. This is the exact same method. What I used to make my husband, I make my husband still camper shirts if he likes fabric, especially that I just bought. But when I first was trying to make him camper shirts, oh Lord, when I was trying to figure out the yoke method, it took me a minute. All right. And if you need to add or take away more pins, do whatever makes you feel good. There's nobody around to judge you except your sewing machine. And you can kind of like talk to them and be like, chill out. Okay. So this is why it's called a burrito. It looks like a long burrito. All the fillings in the inside. And just make sure you're not snagging the inside. You're just snagging, again, both pieces of the cuff, the trim, and one of the pillowcase. And if something doesn't feel like it's balancing out right, just like kind of ease it in. Sometimes when we have pins and we're just like not easing in all the fabric, it happens. And nothing's being stabilized. So just ease it in, pin. Just ease it in. It'll work itself out, I promise you. See how it's like slowly easing in more and more? And it's better to do this now than to wait till you get to the sewing machine and you like accidentally make a lump or a bump and you're like, what is going on? And you're trying to unpick it later. All right. Well, we got all of the easing in. All right. So now we're going to take this to the machine. And hold on one second. Let's see. We're going to take this to the machine and we're going to sew this with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Back stitch well at the beginning and the end. And don't sew over your pins, just remove them gently as you go. Okay. Just don't sew over your pins. Unless you have those pins that you can sew over. I have a tendency of always destroying those, so... And don't accidentally fold over the pillow part into your seam. It's very easy to accidentally fold, as I did. Let me back stitch and I'll show you what I did so I can seam rip it real quick. It's very easy to back stitch or sew over into your pillowcase, and that's not a problem. We can just remove these stitches and go back over. I'm just gonna snip these stitches real quick. You can get your seam ripper. Just be cognizant about those areas because it's very easy to do. So make sure this lays flat as possible. And you can feel the difference. Like they'll feel like a lump or something heavier. You're going through more layers. Just lay this as flat as possible. I'm sewing on my 5550. It's equivalent to like a Janome HD or a Juki QVP Mini. Like it's just a straight stitch machine. All right, let me get my, I always have a sample of something that I stitch on so that way I don't, like I can check my stitches ahead of time. So that way I can be like, oh, how does the bobbin look? How does the top look? All right, so then we're going to birth this out of the burrito. Get those threads. And it's not hard. You're just pulling. It's just longer than you expect. So you're like, oh, okay. So then we're just going to give this a little bit of a press on the top to give this a nice crease. And then we're going to do some top stitching. See how that looks? That's so cute. And my steamer just decided to spew out water. So, and I'm just going to give this a nice crease on the top. And of course, do this in a bigger work area, not in a small, tiny work area like I'm doing. It's kind of like do as I say, not as I do scenario. Getting this thread. But if you have a small one, I'm showing you that it's very plausible to do it. It just, patience is a virtue, my friend. Look at how cute this is. This fabric, like, I love getting kits. So Stitch Supply Co. has like holiday kits too, like Christmas ones, and they do like Valentine's and all these different kits. And every time I buy fabric for them, I have a tendency of buying a pillow kit. I don't know why. It's just, they're so good at putting like fabrics together for kits. And they're not like ridiculously expensive. They're like $13 or something. So if you think about it, you pay more for a yard of fabric than for a pillow kit. And you're actually getting a kit that you can use and give to someone. You can make a whole bunch of these and give it to like a shelter, or you can go to elders shelter that, you know, visit some people that may not have family visiting them and give them a little gift. Like, I don't know, there's a whole bunch of things you can do, and people would appreciate it. All right, so we're going to put, what we're going to do now is that we're going to fold the pillow in half, press. Be careful, and we're going to align the trims to meet and pin. Okay, so we're going to carefully make the trims align and pin. Okay. We're going to sew this with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. So I'm just trying to really fussy and make sure that I can get these to match. If it doesn't, it's fine. Don't worry. It's not the end of the world, I promise. But it's just easier when you can get things to match. So we're going to sew pieces together with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. I'm just going to put a few clips here. And here. So we're going to put this wrong sides touching, and then we're going to do a French seam. So if you have never done a French seam before, you're in for a nice little treat. It looks really cool. It closes all raw edges, and it's just a fun way to finish off a clothing item, bags also, and just give everything a nice look. So we're going to sew this down together using a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Back stitch well at the beginning and the end. And you could pin all the way down, clip all the way down. Do whatever method works for you. And at the edge, we're going to stop about 1/4 of an inch away, put our needle down, and we're going to pivot. Once we pivot, we're going to sew the bottom of this at 1/4 of an inch too. Okay? 1/4 of an inch going down. And we're now sewing the bottom close as well. We're sewing the bottom close as well. All right. Back stitch at the end. So what I like to do here is this is where we're about to start the French seam. So I like to go into the corners and kind of snip a little bit off of the corners, just so it can be easier when we get to the French seam, because we're almost done with this project. We're going to just a little bit, kind of like we do with bags. It just gives it a little bit easier way to conceal any blemishes. Now we're going to turn this bag wrong sides out. And you see how like it's a nice clean seam? We're going to poke out not with anything sharp, just like your finger, or if you have a nice round tool, nothing sharp. And we're going to sew now this seam with, you can sew at a 1/4, but 1/4 if you trimmed, but I recommend sewing with a 3/8 of an inch. Okay. Back stitch well at the beginning and end. And keep the seam as straight as possible. Again, you can definitely pin, but as long as that seam is nice and flat and centered, you're good to go. Okay, and just stop at like 3/8 of an inch at the corner, pivot, and do 3/8 at the seam down here. And just again, I'll try to align that seam to be as flat and straight as possible. And then back stitch. All right. We're going to trim all loose threads. And we're going to turn this, I was going to say bag, pillowcase right sides out. And we have a nice and finish, no seam in sight, except I got to get all these loose frayed threads that came out when I was sewing. Pillowcase. Look at how nice this is. Super cute. You can give it a good old press and then slip it onto your favorite pillow and you're ready for spooky season. I'm going to take some pictures of this in a pillow and put it on my farm table so you can see it in all its glory. But if you want to get the pillowcase, I don't know if Stitch Supply Co. has more of these, this exact one, but I know they have many. So what I will do is I will link Stitch Supply Co. and then I'll show you, put you where the pillowcase is. But if you're trying to get this exact fabric, I did cut out the salvage before I washed it. It says Sweet Tooth by Ella Loves, a collection of lovely goods by Ella Loves the Poppy Cotton. But this is the cutest salvage I've ever seen. I don't know what I want to do with it, but I don't want to get rid of it. I think they make really great pillowcase collections, and I definitely want to buy some for the holidays. So if you have any questions in reference to this pillowcase, or if there's some other projects that you see that maybe isn't Stitch Supply Co., or maybe that is more DIY home style that's not bag related, comment down below what would you like to see. If you like the colors of this pillowcase, tell me why. So comment, like, subscribe, and hit that like button. I'm going to say that again because sometimes the watch hours don't equivalent to the likes. It helps the channel tremendously. And I will see you guys real soon. Talk to you later. Bye.